Welcome back to another episode of Deep in State. I'm Nick Hawks, your host. This is presented by GoldHawks. On today's episode, we'll have Nils Pihl from Auki Labs. This episode is sponsored by GoldHawks and Associates, the most experienced DePIN consultancy in the space. We help projects develop strategy, messaging, and token incentives. We'll have a little bit more on us later in the show. Before we get started, make sure you hit the like, subscribe, smash the bell, all that stuff that helps us bring great guests like Nils to you. Nils, thanks for coming on, man.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you're just up the street right now. You're up in Long Beach. I'm down in San Diego, but usually you're over in Hong Kong running this Auki Labs stuff. I was looking at the website and it says get ahead with spatial computing. So I thought we'd start with what the heck does that mean?
So spatial computing is the art of teaching computers to understand the physical world. So if you think about it, the computer has no real sense of what's around it. And spatial computing is helping it not only understand what it's looking at, but more importantly, understand its own position and movement through space. This is a prerequisite for things like augmented reality, which is not possible without the device understanding how it's moving through the physical space. It's necessary for virtual reality for the same reason, and it's a very big part of robotics. So again, spatial computing is the art of helping machines understand the physical world.
Got it. And then how did you come to do this? When I'm looking at the background on you, it looks like you're bringing together a bunch of different disciplines. Walk me through in just a minute or two, kind of how you came to run this thing.
So I have been an entrepreneur for a long time and had a very deep passion for meme theory in particular. How information propagates through cultures.
Yeah.
And that led me to a big data startup back in the day.
Okay.
That led me to Hong Kong, where I joined ultimately a company called 𝐾𝐞𝐏𝐈𝐍, which was the world's third largest operating system for mobile phones at the time, as their director of data. And when I left 𝐾𝐞𝐏𝐈𝐍, I wanted to do something with the tabletop game Warhammer. I had just fallen in love with the tabletop game Warhammer.
Okay.
And I wanted to do something for the Warhammer community. I also thought it was, some good business opportunities there. And I decided to try to make augmented reality overlays for the tabletop game Warhammer.
Okay.
But of course, ran into the challenge that in a competitive game like Warhammer, you want to see the same AR overlay precisely. And that was not possible under the current or the spatial computing paradigm at the time. So I learned that I, like many others, have been very naive about the spatial awareness of the phone, because we're so big as humans and we navigate between big destinations like restaurants. It's easy to believe that like GPS is quite precise, but GPS can just place you typically within a couple of meters of where you are, which is nowhere near good enough for augmented reality, or for robotics, for that reason.
Geez, you'll end up needing like point cloud or RTK or some kind of fancy positioning pieces. And did that lead you to, what is it? Is it Posemesh? Am I saying that right?
Yeah, the Posemesh.
And then so what is that? And then how is it improving this positioning kind of problem?
So at the core of positioning is this problem that we need to replace the GPS with something. And the paradigm that the whole industry has kind of embraced as the future of positioning is visual positioning systems. And visual positioning systems work through comparing your camera feed to some digital twin of the world, like a memory of what the world looks like, that's stored on someone else's centralized cloud. To just make explicit what that trade is, you are trading what you are looking at in exchange for knowing where you are. And that maybe doesn't sound super alarming when the phone is in your pocket most of the time, but imagine a world where you have a humanoid robot in your home. And the only way for the humanoid robot not to get lost is to constantly send its camera feed to Google. Well, that's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Imagine you're wearing AR glasses, and the only way for the AR glasses not to get lost is for them to constantly be sending their video feed to Google. So we wanted to try to decentralize this concept and move the relationship, instead of my glasses and Google having a relationship. Instead, it should be between my glasses and the venue that I'm visiting. We wanted to make a decentralized positioning system that would allow people to self-host the spatial data necessary to understand their surroundings. So in the future, as I'm wearing my AR glasses and I come visit you at your home, my glasses would connect to your positioning system. And I felt that was an important thing to try to do because spatial computing is coming for sure. Like it is for sure the next big thing after mobile computing. The idea that digital information can be correctly placed in physical space is absolutely necessary for robotics. It's absolutely necessary for smart cities. It's absolutely necessary for AI to understand the physical world. So like this is coming. The question then is it going to come in a centralized way where some actor like Meta or Google can literally see what everyone is seeing? Or is it going to be done in a decentralized way? So the Posemesh is a decentralized machine perception network that allows computers, devices, AI to exchange spatial data and computation with each other to understand physical space collaboratively.
Dang. Okay. There's a fair amount to unpack there, and I'll hit the more of the DePIN stuff in a minute. Let's take a quick break. We'll talk about today's sponsor, Goldhawks and Associates. We're a DePIN consultant firm helping projects with strategy, messaging, and token incentives. We run a blog for founders over at goldandhawks.com, produce this show, and most importantly, work with the core teams and communities of your favorite projects in the space to ensure tokenomics and incentives are fully aligned to build out some of the most badass physical infrastructure networks in the world. If your project needs help with any of these, check out goldandhawks.com. So Nils, I guess the DePIN part of this comes, if I'm imagining this, I've got a little cookie shop. It's right down the street from me. My wife and I run it when I'm not doing this stuff. Are you kind of looking at, we would put a mini server or something in there that when someone comes in with their glasses, it would connect to that server at that physical location? Or could I host something at my house that's good for both my house and the business, or for multiple businesses? How are you thinking? Is this like a one for one, one for many? How does that part work?
So it depends on how serious you are, but I think a very common use case will be that you set up a server for your home and for your shop.
Okay, so one
you're
each.
Probably not necessarily.
One
like if you're a hardcore user, you can certainly set up one for each. Okay. As a protocol, we can't really have an opinion about that, right? We just make it possible to set up servers to deal with physical spaces. But you might also, also choose not to host any of this yourself, but rely on other actors in the DePIN network to store that data on your behalf. So, which is very similar to leaving it with Google, etc. But I think it's important to give people the choice. Not everyone is going to want to self-host. Sure. And even if the majority ends up putting their stuff in a cloud somewhere, I think it's important for civilization that we give ourselves the choice, and that we, if we're going to walk into surveillance dystopia, at least we do so knowingly and willingly.
Hopefully it's a utopia. Hopefully it's not a dystopia. Although it's up to us. I think that's the exciting part about the whole decentralized piece, is that the opportunity is ours to seize. Whether or not we all take it and get it right is something that we'll know in the future. Okay, so that's what I think of as the server side. Maybe there's a better word for it, but that's kind of the static piece that sits in one place. There's a word on the street. You guys also have a wearable in the works. Can you tell me a little bit more about that and what's going on there?
Yeah, so we're prototyping our first piece of hardware made specifically for the Posemesh, and it has a very specific use case in mind, which is to passively be gathering visual information about a retail environment. So this is a wearable that's not for consumers. It's a wearable for retail staff. And they will be wearing this so that the AI has an opportunity to look at the store at the same time as they do. That helps the AI get a sense of what's happening in the store, but also make recommendations for the staff member what to do.
Is this like stocking stuff, or like, put the tomato can on, shelf 7 in aisle 4? Or is it more like you should shift these things so that people buy more when they come in?
All of the above.
Okay.
So we're partnering with an AI shop called Accurate that consumes sales data and stock level data to create predictions about changes you could make in the store that would drive sales, or things that aren't as you think they are in the store. So their AI can notice things like, hey, you've probably run out of the premium shampoo because you're selling an unusual amount of the medium shampoo. That's normally not what happens. So you should go check the stock level on the premium shampoo, which is really cool. The people that use this system and really action what the AI tells them to do typically see 0.5% to 1.5% in increased sales, which is pretty remarkable.
That's a nice lift. And then is this also in conjunction with static cameras in the store or static sensors in the store?
It can be, but okay. The challenge with grocery stores is they're very big and they change a lot. And putting up fixed infrastructure like those cameras is a very daunting task. You know, if you have a 50,000 square foot large scale grocery store, you're going to be talking about hundreds of cameras to really be able to see what's on every shelf. Like we have a small demo store in Hong Kong. It's 100 shelves, but we still need, you know, like at least a dozen cameras to really get good coverage there. And even we can't be bothered to install that many cameras. So by having a wearable that knows where it is specifically and can take photos of things annotated with precisely where the photo was taken, it helps the AI understand better what's going on, but it also helps the human, because the human has a phone that also knows precisely where it is and can be guided directly to the tasks that the AI wants you to address, or that your colleague wants you to address. That's our main use case today, where we let staff members just leave tasks for each other in shared augmented reality, which turns out to save a lot of time on the retail floor. We recently released a case study that showed that those staffers are saving at least 15 minutes per employee per day just being able to leave invisible Post-it notes for each other.
Dang. And so you figure that as a business owner, you're paying that person, even minimum wage here in California, you're probably ending up paying $20 an hour. You're getting a quarter of that back, $5 an hour. That's 8 hours a day, $40 a day. That's not bad per employee if you're getting that. So yeah, I hope my public math is right. Someone will probably catch me out on that, but
yeah, we calculate that on minimum wage, all costs considered, 5 minutes of a retailer's time is about $1. So you're saving at least $3 a day on the retailer's time.
Yeah, so I'm
per employee,
math wrong
right?
Here, but that's still, I mean, any little piece, and especially if you have a lot of employees, for maybe a super small store, that doesn't matter as much, but you start having 10, 15, 20, 40 employees, that starts to add up super fast.
Yeah, like a 50,000 square foot grocery store may have as many as 80 employees and, 20, 30 of them out on the floor at any given time. And then, they work in shifts, they have to do handovers, things like this. What we found in this recent case study is that not only do they save time, but they report completing more tasks than they used to, because it's a little bit more gamified. It's a little bit less daunting. Like instead of a paper list with 20 things that you need to do, there's a simple interface that explains how and where, what to do.
Yep. No, it's more efficient, more effective. Okay.
One of the things that we're really excited about, and that I think is a cool unsung potential of DePIN and AI, is that it's helping their cognitively impaired workers do better at work.
Oh, super cool. Yeah.
So we're formulating this hypothesis that we call the hybrid era of robotics, which is this idea, if I can be a little bit cynical, that the first generation of robots will still have human legs and arms.
Okay.
So what do I mean by that? I mean that as a retailer, you can carry this camera along with you that helps you see what's supposed to happen in the store. It's connected to an edge server in the store that is processing all of this and figuring out what you need to get done, and it sends you tasks, and you go there and fix those things. Even if you're a low-skill worker that doesn't have that much initiative or imagination on what should be done, all of a sudden you have this AI companion that helps you be productive all the time in a way that's fun. And this is the hybrid era of robotics, where there's a human carrying the miniature robot around, right? Even if that robot is just your phone.
It's tiny. Yeah. Okay. Super cool. So it sounds like a really exciting industry and business to be in. So let's see, you're out at, what is it, Augmented World Expo, AWE, up in
Yeah.
Long Beach now. You're giving a speech on, was it decentralized AI perception, how collaborative spatial computing brings AI to retail. We talked a little bit about that just now. Is there any kind of big takeaways that you want people to walk away with from that talk where like, oh, this is what I'm going to go do?
I think understanding that as a civilization, we kind of have to choose between centralized positioning and decentralized positioning, I think is very important. I think it's important to understand that decentralization has a fair shot at winning here, actually. It is a fair fight. Like centralization can still win, but it is a fair fight. Decentralization can come out on top here.
We might make it, yeah. Yeah, maybe.
So here's a reason why it might win in retail, right? Here's a little imagined story. So the year is 2030. We're chilling with our humanoid robot friend on the couch, but it's 2030 on a Saturday morning, and we're out of food, and none of us want to go to the grocery store. So we want to send our humanoid robot to the grocery store, right? And he's going to buy a bunch of food, and so we send him to the grocery store. Question one, how does he find the grocery store? Does he do that by GPS? I mean, maybe in a place like Long Beach that is very flat and you can get good GPS reception. But in Hong Kong, where I live, no way, right? So you're going to need already there some kind of positioning system to get to the grocery store.
Yep.
And then once you're inside the grocery store, what do we want to happen? Do we want our humanoid robot to go and look for the ketchup just like we do? Of course not. We want the robot to just know, right?
Yep.
So how would that work? Well, maybe the store has given an entire map of what the store looks like to Google so that Google can just answer where's the ketchup. But the store does not want to do that because the visual merchandising, like how the products are placed in the store, is a very, very well-kept secret.
Yeah.
And they are so sensitive about this that a lot of retailers don't even want to store any data on AWS.
Yep.
Right? Like this is very, very sensitive information. So they have no interest in adding a map of their store to Google's database. Like that's just not happening. Like, okay, so maybe the second time my robot goes there, it'll know where everything is because it's just going to index the whole store the first time it goes.
Yep.
Well, the stores don't want that either for the same reason. Like if you try to film in your grocery store now, they will throw you out. We've learned this from experience trying to just, shoot guerrilla demos.
Yeah.
They really don't want you to film the inside of the store because again, the visual merchandising is
key.
Yeah.
Right. I guess in a weird way. Yeah.
So what options are there? Right. Well, the store is going to have to answer where's the ketchup. That's what needs to happen.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Otherwise, the robot is going to have to look like a pleb. Like no one wants that. Right. So the store is going to have to be able to answer the question, where's the ketchup? And the point of the Posemesh is, predicting where the ball is going to be, predicting that this is what's going to need to happen.
Yep.
And already now provide this kind of service where the retailer can self-host a system. They can decide who gets to see what information. We don't get any of it, right? And then they can, in fact, just answer where's the ketchup. And this is, it's a silly story, but this is the future that we're building, where when you go to the venue, it's up to the venue to tell you what you need to know.
That'll be a super cool world. Maybe it'll be faster than 2030. So let's see, you're building this DePIN. What does a TGE look like? Is there a timeline for that? What are we looking at?
We are in the process of launching now, so maybe in the next 4 weeks. I don't have a specific date yet. So the operating word there is maybe.
Yeah, maybe soon. Well, that's all DePIN.
Yeah, no, but we're actioning now. Like we are in the process. So now's a great time to get involved. We have a Telegram bot that you can interact with actually that helps stress test our DePIN, and you can earn points by doing that, which will help you as we get closer to the TG.
Okay. And what do these servers run? Can I run this on a Raspberry Pi? Do I need something fancier?
You can. Yeah,
Okay.
like the servers are very, very lightweight. Most people today have been running on other cloud providers,
Okay.
which actually allowed us to do something pretty cool. And it's the reason why we have this Pinger app now. We gave out rewards to the community for setting up servers in every region of every major cloud provider. Why?
Okay.
Because then we can take a base benchmark of
Yep.
what is the latency of Web 2.
Yep.
Actually, if I was such a meticulous founder that I set up a server in every region of every major cloud provider, what kind of latency would my service have then? So we're very excited to tell the world that the community came together and did that. They set up servers all over the world. So we have much better coverage than AWS. We have better coverage than Google Cloud. We have better, because we have the coverage of all of these guys combined.
Sure. Yeah.
And now you can help us stress test this by using this Telegram bot.
Yep.
If you want to help with the science, don't bot this. If you actually ping from your phone, ideally not from the Wi-Fi, like test your cellular connection, we are building a latency map of the world right now.
That's rad.
It's fun, and it's one of these amazing things that the DePIN movement is allowing. I really think that DePIN is a new chapter in human economic organization. Like for the first time, you can do civilization scale infrastructure that is funded, owned, and operated by the people, a network of people, rather than a state or a corporation. And that's really, really radical. I argued recently, actually, at a keynote, that I think history is likely to think of that as Satoshi's real legacy. Like the thing that came out of the decentralization movement, that was the most impactful, was a DePIN as a system.
Yeah, no, it is a super exciting thing to see, and it's exciting to see all these different technologies, whether it's the perception piece or, wireless or weather or whatever it is, or privacy, et cetera. It's super cool to see all that stuff get decentralized. Okay, let's wrap this up with the final question on these things is over at Goldhawks and Associates, we always preach the importance of structure, story, and catalyst. What do you think will be the catalyst that takes Auki from where it is to where it's eventually going? Is there kind of a tipping point piece or a piece that's really important that is not there that you see is coming that'll launch this thing off?
I think there are two coming pieces of hardware somewhere on the horizon. Humanoid robots and AR glasses that are going to massively increase the demand for these things. I want to stress, though, that there is really big demand for spatial computing already. When Tim Cook announced the Apple Vision Pro, he said that just as the Macintosh introduced us to personal computers and the iPhone introduced us to mobile computers, the Vision Pro is introducing us to spatial computers. And what he means by that is not like, hey, computers are going to be on your face now. What he means is computers are going to understand the physical world now.
Yeah.
That's the thing that's new. Your iPhone is already a spatial computer when you ask it to. And just like computers touched every industry and mobile computers touched every industry, spatial computing is going to touch at least every physical business out there. Yeah. And like just looking at retail, like just looking at the business case for retail, we think we can get into 100,000 locations within 3 years. And we think we can get on average maybe $200 per store for that. That's a $250 million in recurring revenue, like just from grocery stores. Like that would be a third of the European market's grocery stores would be $250 million a year. There are genuinely multi-trillion-dollar opportunities associated with solving the problem of positioning, which is why 7 out of the 10 biggest companies in the world are investing very, very heavily in spatial computing. But I think the people can actually win. I think DePIN is going to win and be the future of positioning for AR, for robotics, the metaverse, on Earth and beyond.
Right on. Nils, thanks a ton for taking time to come on and explain this thing. I'm super excited to learn way more about it. We'll have to get a server in the Paleo Treat shop. And yeah, thanks so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me.